That is Groovejet, and yes, it's coming up to 4 on this Wednesday afternoon to a Wednesday evening. As I mentioned, we do have a game later, full coverage from 6. We'll sort your TV out with Shem and all of the Radio Times as well. And let us talk about something which chimes with a story we were talking about, the concerns about our River Thames, especially when the Henley Mermaids were talking about swimming in the open water and the things that they have to deal with on a regular basis. Untreated sewage, and it's being dumped illegally in rivers across the country on a regular basis, according to analysis seen by the BBC. It found 7 water companies in England and Wales, including Thames Water, discharged untreated sewage into rivers and the sea more than 3,000 times between 2017 and 2021. Now, water companies are allowed to discharge untreated sewage into rivers in exceptional circumstances, heavy rainfall, for example. Thames Water says it regards all discharges of untreated sewage as unacceptable and will work with the government, the Water Services Regulation Authority and the Environment Agency to accelerate work to stop that being necessary. Mark Wilson, the campaigner in Windsor, is part of the End Sewage Mid-Thames group. Mark, hello to you.
Hi, Phil. Good afternoon. Thanks very much for inviting me on.
Pleasure. So how did you feel when you saw the news today, then?
Well, fairly disgusted, unfortunately. I mean, it's also not that new news, but it's good to have it highlighted again. I mean, I swim in the Thames, or I aim to swim in the Thames regularly as part of my triathlon pastime, and it is quite off-putting, which is disappointing.
So, yes, I mentioned the Henley Mermaids. They also swim in the river, and so it's a regular occurrence, what you see.
It has certainly been regular over the last couple of years. I've been swimming off and on in the Thames for sort of the last 25 years, and at the beginning of that time, years ago in the 90s, it was Viles disease was the concern, but very clearly recently it's now far more about sewage and the overall water quality.
So in that 25 years, you have set aside the Viles concerns, which are perfectly valid ones as well. The water has changed. I
would say so, yes. I mean, it's certainly from a publicity point of view, it's very clear now that there's far more sewage going into the river. And yeah, it's like I don't really know what to do. We can get data, and the data is certainly saying that the water quality, both either from sewage and from sort of farming runoff, has deteriorated.
And when it comes to you swimming in the river, are there days where you go, "There's no chance I'm going to get into the water today," or is it one of those things you just don't know when you do turn up?
Well, the last sort of year or so, or the last couple of years with COVID, it's been very much I don't know. So it's really put me off. And the few times that I have been, I've actually had a sort of like a reaction in my nose, in my sinuses, which has sort of led to my nose running for about a week afterwards. So it's off-putting. So I've actually swum less, which is quite sad.
And just finally, what do you think needs to be done to stop this?
Well, I think the critical thing is that there is legislation there, but the enforcement isn't. And this is what a lot of the campaigns are highlighting, is that the enforcement needs to be much stronger. The Environment Agency actually needs some teeth, and the water companies really need incentivising to really not release sewage at all if they possibly can. There needs to be investment in the infrastructure so that they don't need to, so that there are no overflows. And we can really try and restore the river to its full health.
But just as a final thing, you accept, though, if it is exceptional rain, and we have seen some exceptional rain over the last few years, that it's very difficult for companies like Thames Water to get rid of it because they've just got too much.
I mean, I think in the short term, given the system's capacity, that's inevitable. But I know that they've certainly been accused of illegally releasing sewage when they apparently don't need to. But I think in the long term, there needs to be investment in the infrastructure such that it's not needed at all, irrespective of rainfall. I think that has to be the long-term goal.
Really good to speak to you, Mark. Thank you very much indeed. Mark Wilson there, campaigner in Windsor, also part of the End Sewage Pollution Mid-Thames group. It's BBC Radio Berkshire. It's coming up to 4:13.